Welcome back to the SportsMax zone, and we turn our attention to Wednesday's games in the UEFA Champions League and look at a few crucial matchups. So we have Salzburg up against Dinamo Zagreb. Leipzig will be playing Celtic, Chelsea up against Milan, Real Madrid face Shakhtar Donetsk, Manchester City play Copenhagen, Sevilla versus Dortmund, Juventus up against Maccabi Haifa, and Benfica see Paris Saint-Germain. Alright, so George and Lance, based on the fixtures that we have set for tomorrow, you'll be doing the Champions League show, so you get the opportunity to go first. Which is the most mouth-watering match? Which one are we going to see a taste of what we saw from Marseille and Sporting today?
Well, let me tell you, the biggest games tomorrow, in my view, one of them we're carrying, Chelsea AC Milan. That's going to be a cracking game. There's also going to be a lot of excitement in the game between Benfica and PSG. Erling Haaland will score against Copenhagen for Man City. But the game, the most important game in terms of the destiny of both teams in the Champions League this season, that most important game tomorrow based on those conditions, Juventus, Maccabi Haifa. Why do I say so? I say so because of this. If you look at Group H standings, Mr. Producer, do you have Group H? Do you have the Group H standings? Okay. If you look at the Group H standings, right?
Yeah.
PSG are leading the group on 6 points. Benfica are second on 6 points. Juventus are third, 0. Maccabi Haifa, 0. The fact is, if none of these teams win when they meet tomorrow, if the game ends in a draw, or if Maccabi Haifa wins, or the game is drawn, then they'll be cut so far away from the top 2 in the table that it will be almost impossible for them to qualify from the Champions League group into the knockout round. Group H is the only group configured at this point where the top 2, based on where they stand now, are almost cut away from the other 2, and Juventus find themselves in real trouble because with 0 points on the board after 2 games, they have it all to do, so they must win against Maccabi Haifa, because if they draw and PSG Benfica draw, then those 2 teams will be on 7 points. Juventus will only have 1, so there'll still be a 6-point gap to second in the table, and that's not good enough. So it's a must-win game. They are the only team tomorrow, Juventus and Maccabi Haifa. Those are the only 2 teams, and I'm saying Juventus because you don't expect Maccabi Haifa to get out of the group. Juventus must win on Wednesday. No any other result, disaster for them.
And Lance, based on what George said and based on what we've seen from Juventus so far this season, do you think that they have what it takes to get out of the group?
I think so, but they'll have to shape up, because their recent form isn't impressive at all, but they are a traditional powerhouse and a team with a lot of pedigree, so they just have to search into the depths of their hearts to bring those out. But I'm more for the optics for tomorrow's game, so I want to see Real Madrid and I want to see Manchester City, because Haaland is just beast-like and very, very engaging at the moment, and because Manchester City have never won the Champions League, and their fans are satisfied with the proliferation of domestic titles that they have won. They've had enough of those and they want more. So I'll be tracking Man City all season in the Champions League.
Yeah, even for Pep Guardiola's sake, I'm tracking Manchester City.
There's reason though for the fans to watch our broadcast of Chelsea AC Milan for several reasons. One, there's a player in the Milan defense, an Englishman called Fikayo Tomori, who last season when AC Milan won Serie A, he was the best centre-half in Serie A by a mile. And England fans have been saying, look, Harry Maguire hasn't been cutting the mustard for Gareth Southgate and England are going into the World Cup without an outstanding centre-half. Fikayo Tomori should be starting. He has a chance against English opposition tomorrow, although Chelsea doesn't have many Englishmen in it, but it's English opposition, to really show his worth. So he'll be almost auditioning for a place, not in Gareth Southgate's squad, because he was in the squad for the Nations League games recently, but to start at the World Cup if he stays fit. There's another chance to see the oldie but goodie Olivier Giroud leading the line for AC Milan. It's amazing that he's still going and still scoring at the rate that he's been doing. Nice cue, Mr. Producer, as we look at him tucking away a goal in the game against Dinamo Zagreb earlier in the Champions League match stage. There's another young man on the Milan side. There he is on the left hand. He's on the ball now. Rafael Leao. Excellent, Mr. Producer. He is Portugal's next big thing, they say, and he's already being lined up by the big clubs in England, Rafael Leao. He is young, he's fast, he's strong, he can score goals, he can create. He's one of the most dangerous players in Serie A. I'm not done with AC Milan. Another young player, Charles de Ketelaere. He plays just behind the striker in the central position. He'll be helping De Bruyne and company run the Belgium midfield at the World Cup. So the point is, there are about 4 or 5 players that you must see in this AC Milan team, and that's why it will be worth your while to watch SportsMax's coverage of AC Milan versus Chelsea on the channel on Wednesday.
Yeah, and you spoke about must-see players. Lance already said that, you know, his sights will be set on Manchester City, and not only Lance, because Erling Haaland's manager, Pep Guardiola, says the Norwegian is in a league of his own. Do we have that? Do we have Pep telling us that?
Records with him and performances all the time, but is this the competition where legitimately we can compare him to other strikers, the great strikers of the last 20 years?
Absolutely. At his age, no one can compete with him. No one. So the numbers speak for himself, and inside in the locker room, on the pitch, we see things that there are not in the stats that make us feel happy to have him here.
It's without a doubt, George and Lance, that Erling Haaland has breathed new hopes and new life into Manchester City fans, because every time we spoke about them for the past few seasons, we spoke about needing that striker, not having that one X-factor player, and I think Erling Haaland comes into the setup and just gives us that and even so much more.
You know, sometimes luck works in your favor. Let me tell you how.
But he's been really lucky.
Well, not him, not him. He's better than... Well, it's better to be good than lucky. He's good and lucky, so he has everything. It's not him.
Yes.
I'm talking about Pep Guardiola. For a few seasons now, even before Sergio Aguero left, when it was clear that it's not that Sergio Aguero declined, it's that Sergio Aguero was injured very often and not available to play and play at the level that Pep Guardiola wanted. From that time, when injuries were taking their toll on Aguero, Guardiola was looking for a central striker. He tried very hard to get Harry Kane 2 seasons ago. Very, very hard. They would have paid everything, but Daniel Levy at Spurs wouldn't do business. And he was patient. He could have gone out like some other managers and bought someone else. But he said, look, I have a team that can win the big titles without the central striker, because I don't want any central striker. I want the perfect one. He thought Harry Kane was the perfect one and tried to get him, moved heaven and earth and didn't get him. And because of that disappointment, Erling Haaland falls into his lap. Because if Kane was there, it's highly unlikely he would have gone for Erling Haaland. And it's highly unlikely if Kane were there, Erling Haaland would have gone to Man City. It's because he walked into a team where there was a place already for him. Of course, his talent is so great, any club would take him. So the point I'm making is this. Pep, who's usually very calculating and calculated in what he does, has benefited from serendipity. Serendipity means the accidental discovery of something great. He's accidentally, the circumstances have converged to let Erling Haaland fall into his lap. And if this doesn't mean Manchester City are UEFA Champions League winners in waiting, we can stop watching football, unplug all of the appliances and go to the planet Zenith and live out the rest of our days.
Lance, I don't know too much about that, but what I will say is the chances for Manchester City to win the Champions League this season, we spoke about the same thing last season though, but it looks even better this season.
Yeah, they're favourites to win the Champions League as far as I'm concerned, because they've gone close enough in the past 3 or 4 years without someone of the quality of Haaland, and he just injects something super in the Man City offence that is fitting of the Champions League platform. And I know it's not easy to win the Champions League, and I don't think, as George is saying, that is a foregone conclusion, but I would think they are definitely heavy favourites to win.
On paper.
It's a 5-gone conclusion, Brian.
Anyways, before we go, just a reminder to tune in tomorrow here on SportsMax and SportsMax 2 to keep up with the UEFA Champions League action, and also join us in our pre-game show, which starts at 12:30 p.m. It starts at 11:30 p.m. and that's 11:30 a.m. That's 12:30 in the Eastern Caribbean. Let's go to break.